Have you ever felt like time was speeding up? Like every second was a constant reminder of everything that still needs to be done? As if your mind were a raging river, carrying thoughts you didn't ask for, heading toward a future you can't foresee. This silent anxiety, this invisible wind blowing within you, isn't a flaw. It's a sign that something inside you, something deep, ancient, is asking to be heard. And today, we won't fight this wind. We'll learn to sail with it. This is an invitation to slow down, not as a self-help exercise, but as an act of spiritual courage. Because the truth is, most people spend their lives trying to control the uncontrollable. Time, others, the future, even their own thoughts. And in this effort, they only find more exhaustion, more emptiness, more urgency. But there is an ancient tradition, almost forgotten in the West, that offers a different path. A path that doesn't require more strength, more forced discipline, more feigned positivity. It requires only one thing: to stop. Stop to feel the flow. Stop to listen to the silence between thoughts. This is the wisdom of the Tao, not as a distant philosophy, but as a living map for modern life, inspired by the teachings of Lao Tzu, the master of Tao Te Ching, and in deep practices. It's not about eliminating anxiety. It's about transmuting it. It's about discovering that within you there is an immovable center, like a firm mountain in the midst of a storm, that has never been shaken, and that by connecting to it, you no longer need to run. You can simply be. Over the next minutes, we'll uncover a Taoist revelation few know. Anxiety isn't the enemy. It's a sign that you're out of touch with life's natural rhythm. And when you return to flowing with the Tao, fear of the future doesn't disappear through willpower. It simply loses its place to exist. If you're tired of techniques that don't work, of catchphrases that don't touch your soul, stay until the end. Because what follows isn't just another video about anxiety. It's a ritual of return. Axiom Sage presents Overcome Anxiety with this hidden Taoist teaching and freedom inner discipline. There's a moment, perhaps you've experienced it, when everything seems to be working. You have your job, your family, your plans, but still there's a void, a heavy silence, a feeling like you're running, but you don't know where. And then, suddenly, your heart races, your breath shortens. Thoughts multiply like shadows on a wall lit by a flickering flame. You start to imagine the worst. The future becomes your enemy, and you, without realizing it, enter survival mode. This is not a weakness. It is humanity. Modern anxiety isn't just a disorder. It's a symptom of a profound imbalance. An imbalance between what the world demands of you and what your soul can handle, between the speed of technology and the slowness of consciousness, between the quest for control and the chaotic nature of life. You try to plan everything, but life insists on being unpredictable. You try to think of everything, but your mind insists on speeding up. And then you ask yourself, why, even though I'm doing everything right, do I still feel so wrong? Lao Tzu, over 2,000 years ago, already saw this clearly. He said, "Those who cling to the future lose the present." A simple sentence, yet devastating in its truth, because all anxiety stems from the same place, from trying to live in a time that doesn't yet exist. You're not anxious about what will happen. You're anxious because not here. And in this void, you try to fill it with quick fixes, forced meditation, positive affirmations, endless to-do lists. But what happens? The anxiety returns. Because you're trying to control the uncontrollable. You're trying to tame the wind with your hands. But what if I told you there's a tradition that doesn't see anxiety as a problem to be solved, but as an invitation to stop, to listen, to remember that you don't have to control the river. You do. Enter it. Gu Hong, the Taoist alchemist, taught that true gold is not found in the laboratory, but within the self. That transformation comes not from external formulas, but from silent discipline of looking within, even when everything inside you screams to escape. He sought not physical immortality, but a symbolic immortality, that of a spirit that is not broken by time, that is not lost in the chaos. And that's exactly what you need today. Not more strength, but presence. Not more control, but confidence. In the middle of this video, I'll reveal a simple exercise, just 3 minutes long, that was directly inspired by Taoist practices of alignment with the Tao. An exercise that doesn't require you to change your thoughts, but rather changes your relationship with them. An exercise that, if practiced sincerely, can transform the way you breathe, think, and live. But before we get there, we need to dismantle the illusions that keep you trapped. The biggest mistake you can make when dealing with anxiety is believing you need to control everything. That if you think the right thoughts, do the right practices, and have the right attitude, you'll finally find peace. This is the modern illusion. That control is the answer to chaos. But the truth is different. Neuroscience confirms, when you live in a constant state of anxiety, your brain is flooded with cortisol and dopamine, the hormones of alertness and seeking. Your mind is hyperactive, like an engine revving to maximum speed, even when the car is stopped. And what do? You try to think more, plan more, push harder, and so you feed the cycle. Lao Tzu offers a radical way out, the Wu Wei, a word that many translate as non-action, but which actually means non-forcing. It's not passive. It's intelligence. It's the wisdom of knowing when to act and when to let go. Imagine a bamboo in the middle of a storm. The wind blows hard. The bamboo bends. It doesn't resist. It doesn't break. It knows how to flow. The next day, while other trees have fallen, the bamboo stands tall, because its strength lies not in its rigidity, but in its flexibility. What about you? When life hits hard, do you bend or break? Most people, faced with anxiety, react like a rigid tree. They try to stay upright at all costs. They try to control time, thoughts, and emotions. But the Tao teaches that what you resist persists. What you try to master dominates you. Anxiety doesn't go away when you fight it. It goes away when you stop fighting. Does this sound like surrender? Maybe. But actually, it's the opposite. It's courage. It's the courage to admit that you don't need to control everything to be safe. It's the courage to trust the flow of life, even when you don't understand where it's going. The Wu Wei, it's not inaction. It's aligned action. It's doing what's necessary, without urgency. It's acting like the river. It doesn't rush, but reaches the sea. And here is the deepest contrast. The modern world teaches you that you need more productivity, more motivation, more control. The Tao teaches you that you need less effort, less resistance, less identification with thoughts. One leads you to exhaustion, the other leads you to peace. But there's an even bigger obstacle, a myth you may be believing without realizing it. It's the myth of the positive mind. Have you ever tried replacing anxious thoughts with phrases like, "Everything will be okay," or "I'm strong enough"? And still, the anxiety returned? That's not your fault. It's the fault of the method. Because when you try to smother anxiety with forced positivity, you're creating an internal war. One part of you says, "Don't feel this." Another part feels it deeply. And in this division, anxiety only grows. Gu Hong saw this clearly. For him, alchemy wasn't about hiding lead, but about transforming it into gold. It wasn't about denying the inner fire, but about using it to purify. Anxiety doesn't need to be erased. She needs to be transmuted into consciousness. And that only happens when you stop fighting it, and start to look at her with curiosity, not fear. Before you move forward, stop for a second. Breathe. Feel it. You don't need to solve anything now. You just need to be here. And if this already resonates with you, if you feel like you're hearing something true, subscribe to the channel now. Because what comes next is even deeper. Now, let's get to the first major delivery. A simple but transformative Taoist practice you can apply today. Not in a temple, not on a retreat, but in the middle of your day, while drinking coffee, walking, or waiting for an email. It is a 3-step exercise, based directly on the principles of Wu Wei and Gu Hong's inner alchemy. I will call it the rite of 3 steps. Step 1. Recognize the anxious thought. Name it. When anxiety arises, and it will, don't try to push it away. Instead, tell yourself, "This is fear of the future," or "That's worrying about what others think," or "This is the pain of not feeling enough." Naming is power, because the moment you name a thought, you cease to be dominated by it. You become the observer, and the observer is not the thought. Lao Tzu would say, "Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is wisdom." And you can only know yourself if you stop fighting what you feel. Step 2. Redirect to the body. Feel the breath. After naming, bring your attention to your body, especially to your abdominal breathing. Don't try to change anything. Just feel. Breathe in. Feel the air coming in. Exhale. Feel the air coming out. Relax your shoulders. Loose, as if they were resting on water. This movement, from mind to body, is key, because anxiety lives in the mind. Peace lives in the body. Neuroscientists call this parasympathetic activation. Taoists call it returning to center. You're not running away from your thoughts. You're simply choosing where to place your attention. Step 3. Visualize yourself as a mountain. Close your eyes, if you can, and imagine yourself as a tall, firm, immovable mountain. The winds of the mind, the anxious thoughts, blow hard. Clouds pass. Storms come and go. But the mountain remains. She doesn't fight the wind. She doesn't change her place. She just stands. And you are not the wind. You are the mountain. This visualization isn't magic. It's a reminder that no matter how much your mind changes, there's something inside you that doesn't change. Something that has never been shaken. Practice this for just 3 minutes. 3 minutes a day. Not to eliminate anxiety. To remember that you are not her. This seemingly simple practice is profoundly revolutionary, because it doesn't try to fix you. It tries to remind you of who you are. And there is a powerful metaphor that illustrates this, that of the bird. Imagine anxiety as a bird landing on your shoulder. If you try to grab it, it gets scared and flaps its wings violently. If you ignore it, it stays. But if you simply observe it, silently, without trying to control it, it naturally takes flight. Anxiety is like that. It doesn't need to be expelled. It just needs to be allowed to pass. And here's the deeper insight. Freedom does not come from eliminating fear. It comes from not being ruled by it. This is the true meaning of spiritual discipline. It's not willpower. It's presence. It's choosing, repeatedly, to return to center. And you can do it now. Breathe. Feel it. Be. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be real. Now, stop for a moment. Close your eyes. Feel comfortable. Or just blur your gaze. Take a deep breath. Let go. Feel the weight of your body. Feel the air touching your skin. Feel the silence between one thought and another. This is the moment when the Tao reveals itself, not in words, not in concepts, but in emptiness between things. Lao Tzu said, "Stillness is the root of agitation." Think about it. A tree doesn't grow because it struggles. It grows because it's rooted. The river doesn't run because it wants to. It runs because it flows. And you don't have to try hard to be at peace. You just need to stop pushing her away. There is a rare, little quoted teaching by Gu Hong that says, "The alchemist does not transform lead into gold with external fire, but with internal fire, controlled by silence." Silence is not absence. It is presence. It is the ground where transformation takes place. And that's why, in the middle of this video, I invite you to a new kind of pause. Not a pause to rest, but to hear. Listen to what's behind the anxiety. Listen to the hidden desire, to rest within yourself. The one of no, the one of simply to be. And as you listen, remember, you are not broken. You are alive. And life, by nature, is uncertain. And uncertainty, by nature, breeds anxiety. But anxiety is not the end. This is the beginning of an awakening. In the next installment, I'll reveal an unexpected metaphor, one that may forever change the way you view anxiety. A metaphor that comes from a river, but which speaks to purification, movement, and freedom. Stay until the end, because what comes next is the heart of the teaching. Now we come to the heart of the teaching, a revelation that may seem simple, but when understood in its depth, changes everything. Imagine a river, not a still river, dammed by a dam, but a river that flows. Naturally, unhurried, effortlessly. This river carries with it leaves, twigs, and debris. Things that, if you look at them with a discerning eye, would seem like dirt, chaos, problems to be solved. But the river doesn't care about that. It doesn't try to filter. It doesn't try to organize. It simply flows. And as it flows, it purifies itself. Because purification does not come from control, but from movement. This is the great Taoist secret that few understand. Anxiety doesn't need to be eliminated. It needs to flow. When you dam up your life with expectations, with rigid plans, with a need for certainty, you create a dam within yourself. And like any river, when the flow is interrupted, the water stagnates. The mind becomes clogged. Emotions become corrupted. And anxiety arises as a symptom of this blockage. But when you let go, when you allow thoughts to pass, emotions to move, the future to remain uncertain, something extraordinary happens. The water finds its own bed. Lao Tzu said, "Nothing in the world is more flexible than water, but nothing resists as much." Think about it. Water does not fight. She adapts. She goes around. It dissolves. And yet, over time, it shapes mountains. Have you ever seen a smooth stone in a riverbed? It wasn't polished by force, but by continuous movement, by gentle friction, by thousands of drops, day after day. This is what spiritual transformation is like. It is not an act of force. It is an act of silent persistence. And anxiety, it's like a current, strong, sometimes violent. But if you don't try to swim against it, if you simply let yourself go, trustingly, it will carry you to a calmer place. Modern pain, this feeling of emptiness, urgency, and exhaustion, arises from rigidity, from the belief that you need to control the course of life. But the Tao teaches that life is not a project to be managed. It is a river to be navigated. And spiritual discipline is not about resisting the flow, but about sailing with it. This doesn't mean passivity. It means intelligence. You still make decisions. You still act, but act from a place of calm, not urgency. It's the difference between desperately rowing against the current and adjusting the boat to follow the natural course of the water. Gu Hong understood this deeply. For him, alchemy was not about mastering nature, but about harmonizing with it. Real gold was not metallic. It was the transformation of the spirit in the fire of experience, without being burned. And you? Have you been allowing your anxiety to move? Or have you been trying to bury it, suffocate it, deny it? Here's a hard truth. Everything you repress comes back with more force. Repressed anxiety turns into insomnia. It turns into irritability. It becomes an addiction. It turns into depression. But anxiety allowed, the one you observe, name, feel in your body, it transforms. It dissolves into the flow. And there is a simple practice that can accelerate this transformation. The river right. Sit in a quiet place. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Now, visualize your mind as a river. Thoughts are like leaves floating on the surface. Some come laden with fear, others of guilt, others of doubt. Don't try to push them away. Don't try to judge them. Just watch. Let them pass. Imagine that at the end of the river there is a calm lake, and every thought, upon reaching there, dissolves. Do this for 3 minutes, daily, not to improve. Photo remember. Remember that you are not the thought. You are the river. You are the space where everything happens. This practice, although simple, is a direct way of Wu Wei. You are not doing anything. It's just allowing it. And in this allowing, there is a radical freedom. Because the moment you stop fighting, you discover that you were already at peace. You just didn't feel it because you were too busy trying to reach her. Now, reflect with me. How many times have you tried to force peace? How many times have you tried to be positive, to escape the pain? And what happened? The pain returned. Because you didn't transform her. You buried her. But the Tao doesn't ask you to bury anything. He asks you to look, that you feel, that you let it pass. And it is in this movement that true discipline is born. Not the discipline of control, the discipline of conscious detachment, the one that allows you to act with clarity, without being ruled by fear. If this part touched something deep within you, comment "River" on the video, not as an empty gesture, but as a reminder. I am the river. I don't fight. I follow. Let's recap the path taken so far, because transformation is only consolidated when it is understood as a whole. You came here carrying a silent pain, anxiety, not as an isolated disorder, but as a symptom of something bigger, a disconnect with the natural rhythm of life. You tried to control time, thoughts, and results. But what the modern world doesn't tell you is that control is the root of suffering. Lao Tzu already knew, whoever grabs the future loses the present. Gu Hong already practiced. True alchemy is the transformation of the spirit in the midst of chaos. And we reveal 3 counterintuitive truths. First, the invisible error is not feeling anxious, it is T. Neuroscience confirms, the hyperactive brain doesn't need more stimulation, but more calm. And the Wu Wei offers the way out, no forcing. The wisdom of bamboo that bends and remains. Second, the modern myth of the positive mind is a trap. Forcing optimism only amplifies repressed anxiety. True transformation does not come from denying the fire, but from transmuting it into consciousness, as Gu Hong taught. Third, silence heals more than intention. Spiritual neuroscience shows silence activates introspection networks, reducing mental hyperactivity. And Lao Tzu teaches, stillness is the root of agitation. You don't find peace by running, you find it by stopping. And then, we deliver 2 practical practices. The 3-step right, name, redirect, visualize, to dissolve urgency in the present moment. And the river right, watch your thoughts like floating leaves, to allow anxiety to move until it dissolves. Now, let's come to the final contrast. What happens to those who apply it, and to those who ignore it? Whoever ignores it continues in the race. Keep trying to control the uncontrollable. Keep punishing yourself for not being strong enough. And over time, you fall into exhaustion, into emptiness, into the feeling that nothing makes sense. Those who apply it begin to change. Not dramatically, but subtly. You realize you don't need to respond to every message immediately. Who can say no without guilt? Who can sit in silence without feeling useless? And little by little, he discovers something surprising. Anxiety doesn't go away because he fought it. She disappears because he stopped feeding her resistance. Like a fire without wood, and in its place, a new quality of presence emerges. A clarity, a calm, not as a permanent state, but as an internal safe haven. Have you ever seen a mountain covered in clouds? From afar, it looks like it's enveloped in a storm, but at the top, the sky is clear. Always. You are that mountain, and daily practice, even if it's just 3 minutes, is like climbing a step a day, not to get to the top, but to remember that you are already there. Now, a little-known Taoist parable to seal this stage. It is said that a disciple asked the Master, "Master, how can I get rid of anxiety?" The Master took him to a stream and said, "Look at the water." The disciple looked. There were leaves, twigs, dirt floating around. "What do you see?" asked the Master. "Things floating." "And what do you want to do with them?" "Throw them away." The Master smiled. "But if you take one away, more will come. The river is not dirty. He is alive." And he added, "Peace is not in a river without leaves. It's in those who look and don't try to clean it. That's the essence of Wu Wei. It's not indifference. It is an active acceptance. It's trust in the process. And you? Are you trying to clean the river? Or are you learning to look calmly? If you choose to look, the path is simple. Breathe. Feel it. Allow. Not as a technique, but as an act of love for oneself. Because, deep down, anxiety is just a scream. I want to be seen. I want to be heard. I want to be welcomed. And when you do that, when you embrace rather than reject, transformation happens. Not by force, by grace. The moment when all the threads connect. Remember the open loop that we opened at the beginning? What about the 3-minute exercise that can change your relationship with anxiety? Here it is. It's what we call the Taoist secret of the body. Sit down now, if you can. Put your feet on the floor. Hands in lap. Close your eyes. Breathe. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Now, feel the rhythm of your breathing. Don't try to change. Just watch. Then bring your attention to the floor. Even if you're not walking right now, remember, the foot touching the ground, the body moving, the gentle swing. Now, synchronize your breathing with this imagined rhythm. Inhale in 2 beats. Exhale in 2 beats, as if walking slowly. Feel your body as part of the environment, not separated, connected. Do this for just 3 minutes. This simple exercise has been used by Taoist monks for centuries, not to stop the mind, but to anchor the spirit in the present. Because anxiety lives in the future, and the body lives in the now. When you connect one to the other, time closes, fear loses strength, and you finally rest. This is the true meaning of spiritual discipline. No more strength, no more fighting, but a continuous return to the center. And the initial promise, overcome anxiety with this hidden Taoist teaching and freedom inner discipline, is fulfilled here. You don't overcome anxiety by attracting positive thoughts. You overcome it, returning to the natural flow of the Tao. You don't find freedom by controlling everything. You find her letting go of control. And what is revealed? A peaceful heart. Not because the world is calm, but because you are at peace, even in the midst of the storm. This is Gu Hong's alchemy. This is the Wu Wei by Lao Tzu. This is the wisdom you came to seek. And it is not in a book, nor in a temple. It's in every breath, at every step, in every moment you choose to be here. Now, one last truth. Most people will never apply this. Because it's easier to look for quick solutions. Because it's more comfortable to blame the world, work, people. Because it is safer to believe that peace is in the future, on a day when everything is resolved. But you are here. You heard. You felt it. And maybe, just maybe, you are the exception. Because transformation doesn't start with a grand gesture. It starts with a small yes. A yes to stop. A yes to feel. A yes to not fighting. Lao Tzu said, "If you are anxious, you live in the future. If you are at peace, you are in the present. Today, you can choose where to live. It doesn't have to be perfect. It is enough to be present. And every time you breathe with awareness, every time you allow a thought to pass by without grabbing it, every time you remember that you are the mountain, not the wind, you will be practicing the Tao. You don't need to become a master. You just need to be a student of the moment. And this channel, Axiom Sage, is your safe haven, a place where the timeless wisdom of the East is translated into the language of the modern soul. No dogmas, no empty promises, just true. If this video touched you, sign up, comment, present. Share this with someone who needs to hear this. Because the world doesn't need more people running, need more people stopping. And you can be one of them. See you in the next video, where we will explore another hidden teaching. How samurai discipline can free you from procrastination, not forcefully, but clearly. Until then, breathe, feel it, and remember, the Taoist secret is already in you. It's just a deep breath. Namaste. Or, as Lao Tzu would say, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Take that step now.